Hey everyone, my name's Dylan, and welcome to my channel. I'm currently a Poshmark Ambassador Level 2, which is the highest you can possibly get on the Poshmark platform, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I managed to become an Ambassador Level 2, how you can as well, and how doing this and spending maybe an hour, I want to say a week, or an hour a day back in 2022, in the summer of 2022, allowed me to get to this point where I'm gaining anywhere between 150 to $550 a week extra to what I'm making at my job for no more than 30 minutes a week of work um, on this account. So, yeah, over the years, I've sold everything from Nike, Lululemon, vintage Carhartt, Burberry jackets, and I'm going to explain not only how I managed to get to this point, but just the entire process of it for anyone else interested in starting off a Poshmark account. Step one, first thing you need to think about when it comes to selling stuff on Poshmark or just any like secondhand retail store like Depop or Poshmark, Macari, eBay, that kind of stuff. If it's clothing that you're selling and you want to get to a point where you get to in level 2 ambassador status, which for example promotes your stuff above other people's. If someone looks up like, something like this, like uh, Sony headphones, this would show up significantly more often at the top compared to any other listing just because you have a higher ambassador status. The first thing you have to think about is where your inventory is coming from. So, for example, let's just look at this page right here of stuff. Um, these shoes are a pair that didn't fit me anymore. A super old pair that I think these were, yeah, size 13s. I'm a size 14 now. So I listed them, sold them, recuperated some of the money. That might be the motivation for some people to start a Poshmark account, is to sell old stuff that they don't use anymore, which is a great thing for that. But you also have to think, if you want this to be consistent, where do you want your inventory to come from? So there's several options. The first of which is, of course, large stores like Goodwill. Goodwill and other thrift stores, if you have an eye for certain things, like more established brands that people who are stalking the Goodwill might not notice. Like, they'll notice if something's a Nike or something's a Puma. But if you find a dress shirt or something like that that's a Brioni, and the person who's stalking the Goodwill doesn't know what a Brioni suit is, but you know that their suit's worth thousands of dollars and arguably one of the nicest menswear suit brands out there, then if you buy that, take the risk, and someone sells it, and then you end up selling it, making money off of it, then there you go. Having the eye at places like that. But honestly, the place that got me the majority of the items that I've shipped in the past has by far been free piles on Facebook Marketplace. If you live in a college town, for example, if you live U District in Washington State, if you live in Bellingham in Washington State, where the University of Washington and Western Washington University, respectively, both are, the one thing you will know around the end of the year and throughout summer, free piles spring up everywhere. College students are leaving. People that live in the town are giving away free stuff. They'll put on Facebook free pile, and then it'll be either clothing items, random miscellaneous house stuff. But a lot of the time, people will just have a giant garbage bag worth of clothes, throw it in a free pile, and then just leave it. If you happen to have a bike or a car and you're just scoping around and you see a free pile with a bunch of bags of clothes, look for those bags of clothes. I think that I want to say a quick bike ride around Bellingham at one point when I was a student at Western. A quick bike ride around Bellingham made me, I think, $900 in an afternoon because I found 3 free piles with a total of 4 bags of clothes. And more than half of the items in these bags were Lululemon, uh, Uniqlo stuff, Nike track and athletic wear, and vintage denim pants. And all in all, I think all the items in that was worth probably around $800 to $900, and I made that just in an afternoon because I listed it all, and over the course of the next month, all of it sold, and that was all stuff that I found for free, without paying for gas because I was just biking around, and spending no more than a minute per item listing it. So free piles, I want to say personally, is by far the best in terms of places where you can find free stuff to list and sell. Along with that, garage sales. If you happen to not live in a college town, but because in college towns, garage sales tend to be price hiked just like thrift stores because it's a college town. But if you don't live in a college town, garage sales could be nice. Because due to not living in a college town, the people who are doing the garage sales won't price hike their stuff as much. So you can still find vintage denim, you can still find nice shoes for a pretty reasonable price at garage sales. Fourth thing, like I said, your own closet is probably a great starter point. If you have siblings that are getting away clothes, their closet, if they're going to throw it in the dump, then how about you just like take it off their hands? If anything is good, list it, sell it, there you go. Friends, family, clearance racks, and Goodwill bins as well if you have a Goodwill bins around you because it's by weight. So if you find a bunch of like old graphic t-shirts, super light, you can take a bunch of them for pretty cheap. Let me just quickly find an example of stuff I found in a free pile. Right here. Here's a free pile. This was completely free, I think, taking into account, obviously, the amount that Poshmark takes off of your selling listings. I want to say I made about $30 or $29 from this. These were mine previously, listed them for free. I originally got them for free from a free pile. This Hydro Flask didn't even come with a lid, but I found this in a free pile while biking around Bellingham. Made $30 off of that. This, another TR-84, found this at the local Goodwill in Bellingham for $5. Sold it for $35. Here was another free pile item, this juicer. This Tropic Feel I found along with the NS40 jacket, both at at a garage sale near Western Washington University. Or I think, no, this one was near UW. This was near UW Bothell in Washington State. I found both of those in a garage sale, sold both of them combined for $10, so $5 each. Sold each of them for about $32, making a good amount of profit there. So as you can see, a good amount of these, got these at a thrift store for $10, sold them for $30, $20 profit. This was an old item of mine that I didn't wear anymore. These were an old item of mine I didn't wear anymore. I think these might have been a friend's. Free pile item that I found. Another free pile item, free pile item, free pile item. Found these, or bought these for, I want to say $10 at the bins. Sold it for $25. Stuff like that. It's very much something that if you can have a place that has consistent free piles either every summer, you can always have a rolling inventory of things. And with Poshmark, you can also just sell larger stuff. Like right here, I have an air fryer that I found in the bins. Listed it because I didn't want it anymore. Someone bought it the next day. So things that can feed your inventory, I'd say, is a good place to start. Knowing that you can find things relatively consistency, even if they're random stuff like this, like an old scuba set that I used to own. Or a a little Vanity Touch LED mirror that I found in a free pile. Both of those obviously free. Stuff like that. I think that's going to be your biggest initial source of things, is clearing out your closet, getting rid of stuff. And the best part is that on Poshmark, it gives you the option to either offload the amount that you make off of items directly to your bank, or it allows you to just spend it again in the Poshmark app. So you can have a rolling inventory, or a rolling balance essentially. And that's the way that I work since 2022, is taking all the money that I made from Poshmark and flipping that into all the money I was allowed to spend on new clothing, which allowed me to cut down on the amount of clothing I was buying, have way more quality and nicer things because I was saving more and more money to be able to buy nicer things. Um, and it just constantly had a rolling amount of stuff that I could, rolling amount of funds that I could use to purchase, like I said, clothing, even like a nicer food if I really wanted to, stuff like that. Offload the money to my bank, be able to spend money on a nice meal, that kind of stuff. Um, Brands that sell, I want to go over that real quick. Brands that sell. Poshmark is, you can get a lot more listings if you manage to sell women's items. Like a lot of pants, a lot of shirts, shoes as well sell really well. But one thing that sells surprisingly well on Poshmark is hydro flasks. If you happen to have hydro flasks, you can sell them on Poshmark for at or above MSRP because people will buy them. I got this for 20, sold it for 32. The other one that I just saw, I bought that for like 15. This one was free, sold it for almost $50. And then there was one more, I'm not sure where it was, but the one without a lid. Sold that one for whatever I did. It was a free pile item on the side of the road. Another almost $40 that I made. So hydro flasks sell surprisingly well on Poshmark, I must say. But I made a list of all the brands. Any athletic wear. Again, this is guys and girls, but I'd say definitely, if you can, lean towards women's stuff because it tends to sell a little bit more. Nike, Lululemon, Patagonia, of course. Any outdoor gear like Arc'teryx, Columbia, North Face. Luxury stuff, Coach sells really good. Vintage Carhartt, like the vintage Carhartt jackets, they sell really good. Band t-shirts, Levi's, and other like kind of more vintage core clothing. But first I'm gonna go, next thing, cutting there. Next thing I'm gonna go over is lighting and taking good photos. So I'm just going to, for example, go on to this one. So I got this for free in a free pile. One of my favorite items I got for free because I wish it was a men's because it looked really cool. This was back in the day before I literally just set up a little hanger 3M hook on a white wall to take my pictures. So as you can see what I did, I just got a piece of poster paper, put it in the back, just to get a uniform color. Obviously, as you can tell, didn't quite work, but it still helps. It still helps to have some sort of backdrop. And if you have walls like this, like a more off-white or beige colored wall, you can pretty easily go into your settings, or like photo settings, and try to whitewash the wall. At least it makes it a lot easier when the background is completely white for it to feel a little bit more professional. But I would say the best thing that you can do is at minimum try to take 3 to 4 pictures of the item. If it's a jacket, one with it open, one with it closed, one on the back, the tag itself with the size, and if it has any patch like North Face or Canada Goose, it has a patch, take a picture of the patch. And then obviously if it has any imperfections, any issues whatsoever, take a picture of that. Because having your item be disputed and then sent back to you is just a big hassle. And if you can stop that from happening, that's your best bet. But a more complex item, for example, like this backpack, stuff like this, little tiny, like if you make your first photo obviously be the backpack, if you make your second photo be something intricate like this, it feels a little bit more like, okay, they're like taking their time checking every single little nook and cranny of this item, so it gives it more of a good impression. See, this is stuff like here that you want to avoid. You want to avoid having this like stuff, and just even this in general, having a black backpack on a black bedding underneath it, not the best in terms of lighting. But photos like this, considerably better. So I'd say lighting your photos well, Try to get every angle that you can. Minimum 3 to 4 photos. Any flaws, of course. Try to take it with a good enough camera. And know that for Poshmark, all of their items are sized like this in square. So take a picture a little bit farther away than you think you typically would need to, just to make sure that when it is zoomed in, you can it'll stick within this square. All right, next thing I want to go over is titles. So for example, let's start with this. An Ember mug that I sold a while ago. Again, having different angles, as well as the original product image if you want to. But as many angles as you can get. As you can see, my entire description was perfect working order, shipped with care. Ember mug, 10 ounce. Let's compare that to this listing. This was for a Uniqlo tote bag backpack. As you can see, worse description, better title. If you can have any of the original stuff that it has in the listing from their original website, the leaders, the entire name of the thing, so that when people are looking up this backpack, for example, if they put it in their notes and they typed exactly what the website has, if they paste that into their phone, your item will show up in the selling category, especially if you're an ambassador, next to the original item, showing that price difference to the buyer. So if you can have your title be as close as possible to the title with all the extra tags, which I'll get into the tags here in a second, all the extra tags as the original item, it'll definitely help with selling more. Like stuff like this ski jacket one, where I have things like the waterproof rating and the windproof rating, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'd say that's probably the most important thing with titles. Make sure you add as much of a title as you possibly can to make it easier for sellers that are buying it. Now, going off of that, descriptions. As you can tell, I've had some good descriptions and some bad descriptions. This is what you need to do. What you need is this. This is my copy and paste, a little Posh copy and paste thing that I put in every single one of my items to make it easy. GBT title extender. This is what I do for these. If you find what this item is, find that jacket, however way you want to do that, Google Photos, put it into an AI, say what is this exact item, look it up, find it, copy and paste that name into a title extender prompt. Copy and paste that prompt. It'll then give you something like this. It'll usually be longer than the allowed on Poshmark, so I have to delete a couple of tags. But then you have a pretty big tag that contains a lot of the things that someone would be looking for when buying. Then, when someone buys something, a default message, it's something. If you can do something when someone purchases something from you, any sort of thanks, any sort of reassurance, it'll be there in 3 business days. If anything happens, whether it's USPS loses the item, you have something happen, anything, if you can let them know the item is shipped or there's an issue with the item, I'm looking into it, that kind of stuff, it helps people go, okay, this person is more trustworthy. If it's 4, 5, 6 days after I purchased it and they still haven't shipped it, I know that they're trying. I know that they're trying to get it figured out. So that's the important thing. If you can do that, then do that. But then next thing, tags. As you can see, I have a tags for menswear items, tags for women's items, and a tags for tech. This just helps whenever someone's looking up an item, they don't know exactly what they want, they just know the style. These kind of things can help with that. Okay, next thing I'm going to go over really quickly is mistakes that I see with new sellers. First and foremost, selling stuff too low. Listing your stuff for too low will make people think that you're just trying to get rid of it, which you are. You're trying to sell it, but they'll think you're trying to get rid of it. There's either something wrong with it. When people see a deal that's too good to be true, they're less likely to buy it. I've had stuff listed all the way down to $5 and no one bought it. I put it up to $15 and 2 days later it sold. Selling stuff for too low definitely comes with its drawbacks. You will likely get less sales if you list stuff too low as opposed to selling it at an appropriate, slightly below what other people are selling it for price. That's, I think, one tip I could definitely do. I have this set for the last 90 days here. 2.3 days to ship. Keeping it below 3. Really, really, really important. Keeps everything going as much as possible. Okay, restarting. Next thing, other tips. I have this set for the last 90 days. Days to ship. Keeping it below 3 is very, very, very important on Poshmark. It helps keep the buyers happy, and Poshmark itself keeping you your ambassador status. Next thing, keeping your average rating below a 4.7, I think, for level 2 ambassador. If you, during your first, let's say 100 sales, keep it as prim and proper as possible. Give your thank you for purchasing, all that stuff. You package it with care. Then the more you get on top of that, because it's a little average, those 5 stars will really help to pull up 1 or 2 bad apples that can't ever be satisfied with anything. So being really, really good for your first couple hundred sales definitely makes it a lot easier whenever you have a bad buyer, essentially. And then next thing that's really important, shares. This is how you not only get your Poshmark status, your ambassador status, but this is how you keep it. This is how you self-share. You go to share to followers, select all, share to followers, and it runs through. This used to be manual, and that's how I brute forced my ambassador status. You have to have a certain amount of shares per month, I think, in order to get your initial ambassador status. And that's how I did it over the first summer. I went through individually and shared it. I set myself an hour per day to just sit here and casually do this while I was listening to a video or watching a movie. Now you can do this significantly better than what it used to be. But what you need to do to keep sales coming in is do this. Even with stuff that's already sold, you share, you scroll all the way, or just like as far as you want to, and have it go. This is what keeps you share. And this you can put it on a different screen, you can put it in the corner. It'll occasionally ask you if you're human because people tend to bot this. But if you can have this run through manually and constantly share your items, doing this will constantly put your items at the top of the page. If you work in an office job and you have your computer out or you have your phone out and you're on your lunch break or right after work, people on their lunch break and right after work are purchasing things. So do this. So your stuff goes to the top of the recommended. Next thing I'm going to go over is pricing. Like I said, don't price low. Price high and accept offers. If you want $30, list it for 40 or 38, accept 30. The buyer feels like they've won, you get your asking price, you get your initial price down. And one thing, do realize you will likely have to concede sometimes. If you're just trying to get something sold and it's not selling and someone offers you lower than you'd want, that's okay. Just list it anyway. There comes a point where you're just going to have to want to get rid of the item, and listing it's going to be better than not having it sold at all. Stop it. I think that Poshmark definitely isn't a get-rich-quick scheme, but it's definitely a side hustle that you can start, that anyone can start, because you have the inventory in your closet most of the time. During COVID, I actually tried making a Poshmark account, listed like 4 things, didn't get any sales, and then closed the account after 2 weeks. Then 2 years later, I, like I said, was sitting in the garage at my place, had a movie on, and for 30 minutes to an hour per day, I worked my way up to level 1 ambassador status. Which, I'm going to go here, check progress. So yeah, 5,000 community shares. So 5,000 of those shares, or self-shares. This was the part that's the hardest. This is what took me an hour a day for. Going through, and you can do the math, you can time it out if you want. You can do the math of how much per day you'd have to do if you wanted to work on it for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes a day in order to get level 1 status or eventually level 2 status. Self-shares, like I said, super easy. They automatically run through. You can probably get it done in a week. Then available listings, listing things for sale initially, then selling listings, getting a good amount of average stars, and then average days to ship, then getting love notes. Love notes is going to be when a user just says, "Thank you, this is awesome. Thank you, this is well packaged. I appreciate it." You can ask for love notes in your sold stuff right here. You can ask for love notes here if you want. You don't have to. People will give love notes automatically. Alright, and my last two most important tips are try to automate the process once you start getting sales. For example, this is my printer. I bought this for $80 on eBay. I don't think they sell these anymore. Yeah, they don't sell these anymore. You can have any printer you want, or even a label maker if you want to go that route. I just find this to be the cheapest option. This is exactly the printer I have. It is tiny, it is portable, it fits on a desk, it fits in a backpack, it literally fits wherever you need it to be. It's a tiny little thing. I bought it for, like I said, $80. Sometimes they come with this little battery on the back, they don't have to, but you plug it in and it runs and it's fine. I've never had any issue with it. It self-cleans and everything. You can buy a set of, I want to say, 12 ink cartridges, half of which being black, half of which being color, on Amazon for, I want to say, $18. Each cartridge prints 150 pages of black ink. This, as far as I know, is one of the cheapest possible printers. So, if I could recommend one printer, it would be this one, the one I have. The second thing, once you start getting a lot of inventory, is this. Let me show you an example here real quick. So here's a good example right here. This little letter at the end of this item wasn't a mistake. I have A, B, C, D, E, F, and G currently of inventory. These are inventory markers for me, this last little letter. What I do is I bought these. These are, I think they're discontinued. They're like as seen on TV, giant packable storage totes. I think in total I bought like 12 of these over the course of my time on Poshmark, which is great because you can use them for anything, from like winter clothes of your stuff, bedding that you don't use anymore, stuff when you're traveling and moving. These are super helpful. But you can connect them to a hose, vacuum out the air, and it compresses everything, which is why in all of my descriptions I put that sometimes the items are wrinkly, because yeah, many of my items are prepackaged and be wrinkled upon arrival because they're in compression totes with silica desiccant beads in them to keep everything dry, but they're in these big totes. I get a sticky note and put A, B, C, D, E, F, and G on the inside of these bags, which tells me when I get like an item purchased, I can then see which tote it's in. I can then uncompress it, grab the item, recompress it, and these can fit stacked under a bed, in a closet, in a wardrobe. It takes up a lot less space, especially if you go the route of women's clothing, because then you can fit more items in these than you can for men's. And if you have big winter coats as well, these are super helpful because it helps condense that giant amount of stuff into something much more usable. But I'd say if I had two recommendations for specific things, it'd be to get storage totes and to get a portable, very ink efficient printer. But yeah, I think that's everything that I have to say about becoming a Poshmark ambassador, and the fact that over the last 2-3 years, becoming a Poshmark level 2 ambassador has netted me, I just checked, anywhere between $200 and $485 per week, every single week, just for finding stuff on the side of the road, finding stuff in me or my siblings' closets, listing them, selling them, and being able to cash out and either buy stuff for myself, buy better clothing, buy clothing that I never thought I'd be able to buy, and all of that, and the fact that over the past. So yeah, that's everything so far I'd have to say about becoming a level 2 Poshmark ambassador. Um, Most important things: sell other or list other people's things, share other people's things, self share as much as possible, whether or not you get the ambassador status. Keep at it. I did this for 2 weeks, and if I would have stopped having those 4 items listed for 2 weeks, and then stopped and never went back to Poshmark, between 2022 and now 2026, I will have missed out on an average of $300 a week in extra money because I stopped. Just give yourself a month to 2 months to see how it works out. And if it works out, it is going to net you a good amount of money if you look for the right brands, sell the right things, and get consistent orders and consistent inventory. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I'll try to answer as many things as possible in the comments. And I'll add some other videos eventually about other things like the top 25 brands I'd recommend that would sell fast in 2026. Best thrift stores I've seen. And so yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to say about becoming a level 2 Poshmark ambassador. Let me know if you have any questions in the description, and I'll do my best to answer them. But yeah, thank you for coming to my channel. But yeah, I think that's everything so far I have to say about becoming a level 2 Poshmark ambassador. Keep at it. Keep ship times to a minimum. Try to automate your workflow. I have a pretty small portable printer. Cost me about $100. The ink for it is super inexpensive. I think it's called a Canon TR150, I want to say. It's a little battery-powered portable printer. I just use that instead of the shipping label thing, because I can get free paper, and like I said, ink is super cheap. I think you get anywhere between 150 to 200 sheets on that. Wait, let me do that.